This video is sponsored by Baawa Foods.
My name is Naa Adoley Buxton. I'm an administrative staff at the Atlantic Group of Companies, and I have one child, Nicole Naa Adoley Buxton. Truthfully, I didn't even know I was pregnant. It was my husband who told me I was pregnant. That's why I'm laughing. So sometime in September 2016, we went out. We had to go out to buy some groceries, some stuff at the mall, and we decided to take pictures. But during the time, I realized I wasn't feeling too good. It was like 1 minute I'm fine, the next minute I'm off. And when we got home, I told him, I don't feel too good. I think I need some painkillers or something. And he looks at me and was like, don't you know you are pregnant? And I go like, me, no. So he goes out to the pharmacy and gets me a test kit. Before then, like we had gotten married in March, and I got myself those expensive test kits because I wanted to have my pregnancy results on an expensive test kit. And then every time I tested, it was negative. And then my husband goes and gets those cheap ones, like the 2 CD ones, and brings it. And then I'm sitting on the toilet and I test and it's positive. I'm like, the first thing that came to my mind was, I had to be on a cheap pea stick. Then eventually, like, fear crept. I'm like, I'm pregnant. What am I going to tell my parents? Like, then I realized, you're married. Like, why are you stressed? Like, what is wrong with you? So I was stuck in the toilet for a while. Then he comes to know me, like, are you okay? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And I go out and I'm like, okay, you are right. He just shook his head and left me there. It wasn't like the movies where they're all happy. Ooh, I didn't get that. My husband is not romantic like that. The pregnancy for the first trimester, it wasn't smooth. I won't call it smooth. The first few months was hard. Like, I had all the pimples, the spitting, like mine was, I think I had the saliva issue my whole 9 months, if I'm not mistaken, the whole time. So I was going to the office, Charlie. This is me wearing chalewote to the office because I couldn't even put on shoes. I was so big. There was pimples all over my face. I didn't want to do anything. Like, I didn't even want to go anywhere. I just wanted to be at home. And I was tired most of the time. No, I can wake up, my husband wakes up in the night and then I'm crying, like I'm sitting there crying. I was just exhausted. Like, the first 3 months wasn't hard. It wasn't fun at all. Back pain, waist pain, like, it wasn't good. I had to go for an antenatal. So I went in the morning. My doctor has his personal clinic and then he works at Kolebu as well. So I went, you get to meet him in the morning before 9. Or you come back in the afternoon at 3 p.m. till like 6. So I went in the morning and he was like, Adoley, go home. He's a guy to it. He goes, Yashi and no bashani me. Minta o makweka obanyo for a loba face yes. Obanye o push a loba face yes. So I had to go to my auntie's place. She lives close to me to spend time with my cousin. My husband was at work. It was just the 2 of us. So I went to her and it was a normal day. So at 3 p.m. I left to go to my antenatal. Then I go and meet the doctor and he goes like, your blood pressure is too high. Before that, I had already been admitted and discharged because of my blood pressure. And he goes like, your pressure is high again, so I need to detain you again. So I'm sitting at the reception. That was around 6 p.m. I'm sitting at the reception waiting for a bed and he's closing. So he comes out and he meets me still sitting. He starts shouting at the nurses, why is she still sitting? She needs a bed. Her pressure is too high. So they are all running around and getting a bed for me. And the next thing I felt was like a gash, like just on the floor, my legs everywhere. So I'm like, oh, I just peed on myself. So I walked to the receptionist and I'm like, oh, please, can you give me a mop? I think I peed on myself. And she comes to look at it and goes to call a nurse. Then the nurse asks me, are you due? And I said, oh no, I'm not due till like 3 weeks. And she goes to call the doctor and they're like, your baby is coming. We have to get you to the room now. Like, it happened so fast. It was so fast. And I had to call my husband. I had called him earlier to tell him that the doctor is admitting me again because the pressure is high again. He was like, oh, again. And I felt so bad. It's like, I don't know how to say, like, you're just disturbing somebody's son. Like, so I had to call him back again. So he was like, he was at work. He was like, okay, let me close from work and then I'll bring your stuff. So I was waiting, and then the next minute, water gush. So I called him again. I'm like, the baby is coming, so you have to come now. It's like, yeah, when I close, I'm like, did you hear what I said? I said the baby is coming now. You have to bring the things now. Like, I said it in the nicest way ever. So he's like, oh, okay. Then I don't know how, but it took a while. And he came in. I was trying to call my mom to come in. She wasn't picking her call. I called my auntie. So I got through to my auntie. So she came in. She's closer. So she came in. Then later my husband came in. Yeah. So that's what I was doing. I had a CS. I had a CS because previously, like in my first 3 months after the stress, just as everything was getting fine, the 4th month I discovered that I was leaking like water. I was literally like water, and I had a friend who had just delivered, so I was asking her, did you go through something like this? And she said, oh, it's normal, like once in a while. So I forgot about it, but later I realized it was getting bad. So I discussed it with my husband. It's like, no, go and see your doctor. I was seeing another doctor, then he was closer to us. I personally chose that hospital because I thought the building was nice and it was close by. I'm like, oh, I can just pick a stroll. If anything, we can quickly run there. So I went to see the doctor. It's like, it was in the evening, and he goes, yeah, it's good you came in, but the scan room lady is closed for the day, so come in tomorrow morning early and take a scan. But I have a surgery, so if you come and I'm not available, let the doctor in charge speak with me before they do anything. So I go in the morning, and then they are doing the scan. I'm lying there for like 30 minutes. This girl, woman, rubs, and she looks at it, then she goes, Then she calls someone, she makes a call, and she's whispering, like talking. And she wasn't telling me anything. So I became nervous. So I asked her, is everything okay? She said, oh, yeah. But she's still not telling me anything. Then eventually she goes like, oh, the fluid around your baby is not enough. It's very, very low. So I asked her, so what can be done? Like, is there anything that can be done to correct it? She said, oh yeah, they can give you some injections and it will be fine. So I just closed my mind like, oh, everything will be fine. She'll be fine, I'll be fine. Then I go and meet the doctor. Not the doctor that I met when I came in said he had closed for the day. There's another doctor. So meet that one and he'll tell you what the issue is. Now I'm sitting in front of that new doctor. He was a young doctor, like very young. And he's on the phone for like talking to his friend, and I'm there waiting for him. So the other man enters like, have you told her? It's like, oh, no. So he goes out, comes back again, and he's still on the phone. It's like, Charlie, tell her. Then eventually they go like, oh, the fluid around your baby is too small, and it's not good for your health. It can put your life in danger, and we need to abort the baby now. And like, just like you are nodding at me, I'm looking at them, I'm nodding. I'm waiting for them to tell me something, like, but they just end and they're all looking at me. I'm like, are you serious? It's like, yeah, it's not good for you. You can have an infection and the baby will die inside. Like, they were saying so many things. And in my head, I was just saying, God, like, I just went through this troublesome 3 months, and just when everything is getting fine, I get this. Then the doctor, the young one, goes like, oh, don't worry, you're young girl, how old are you? You can always have another baby. Some people have been through it, they have children now, don't worry. So let's get you ready. Like, they were ready to take me in. They didn't call the main doctor that I saw the night before. Well, I don't know if they did, but I didn't speak to the doctor. The doctor didn't call me either. So I told him, I can't have an abortion now. My husband knows I'm going for antenatal. I can't see him in the evening and tell him that the baby is gone. So he should let me go home and come back in the morning. Then they're like, okay, but you need to come fast because it's not good for your health. Like, your life is in danger and all that. How I left the hospital to my house, I really don't know. I called my husband. One of the nurses saw me. I became friends with one of the nurses. She was like, is everything okay? And I told her, and she was like, oh, are you sure? I said, yeah, that's what they told me. And even she froze, like she didn't know what to tell me again. I'm like, don't worry, you'll be fine. So she took me out through the back and then gave me, helped me get a taxi. So on my way home, I called my husband. I called him like 3 times. Anytime I cut the call because I couldn't talk. I didn't know how to tell him. I was thinking, somehow a part of my brain was thinking that, hey, my husband's family is going to say I'm a witch. First baby, I've killed the baby. Like, I think I'm watching too many Nigerian movies or something. But that was all the thought. Then eventually I broke down. Like, I was crying. I was crying in the taxi. The taxi driver was an elderly man. I saw he kept looking at me, but I think he just couldn't say anything. Eventually, I called my big brother, one of my big brothers in the US. Like, he and I talk, like, we always talking. And he and his wife were always checking on me throughout the journey anyway. So I called him and I told him, I was like, no. And I was crying the whole time. So he didn't even hear what I was saying. So he called my mom. By the time I got home, my mother had left Chado. The hospital was at Matayeko. By the time I got home, like within minutes, my mother was in my house. Like, she practically flew. And the way she was dressed, I realized it was her house dress that she came with. She just came with the next car. She came and we're talking. But before she got there, I had cried my eyes out. I think I was just exhausted. I was just there. She's like, okay, let's call Samira, like a friend of mine, a close friend of mine who was a doctor. Like, let's call Samira, let's see what she will say. Let's get another opinion. Then we called Samira. Samira was in the US. And then I think she was in school. She was a medical student here, but she left to the US. She was like, okay, let me give you my doctor. Go and see him. So I go and see Dr. Ayi. He's with Zoti Clinic. So I go and see him, and then he's checking me. He makes me lie down with my I don't even know why I entered the room with my mom and my husband. So I'm lying there in the room, and then my legs are open. And the doctor is like checking. And I didn't open. I was like, woman, you need to open up so I see what is happening, else I can't help you. And my mom goes like, I just wanted the ground to open. My husband just couldn't look. I could see his face was just going down. I was like, oh God, why? Why me now? So eventually they did it. But that thing is painful. I don't know why they don't know that it's painful. Eh? So they this thing, and then they put in, he opens and he's checking. And he goes to sit down. I was like, what hospital did you say you're from? And I mentioned, I was like, okay. And he's like, okay, don't worry, we can work with it. I should be coming to the hospital every week so that he just monitors and sees what's going on. So he gives me medications. He didn't even do any injections or anything. It was just medication. So every week, every Monday, I go and see him. And every Monday, like between Monday, when I see him, he tells me everything is fine. I'm okay. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like a whole trauma is starting all over. What's he going to tell me? Is everything okay? Am I going to lose the baby again? And then I go and see him. Even if I don't call my mother or my husband, they'll call me. By 5, 6, they are calling me. Is everything okay? Because my husband had to be at work. He couldn't come most of the time. It was just me. My mother was with me for some time, but later she couldn't. So it was just me. So every Monday it was like torture day for me. I had to go to work and then I leave. So even at work, actually, I wasn't myself at work because I'm going to. And my boss was very supportive. My boss and my HR, they were so supportive. Like, even when I'm exhausted, I used to wear slippers to work. Which organization allows you to wear? If you know my company, you know you can't wear slippers to the office. And when I'm exhausted, you tell me, oh, you can go and relax in the store. And they were checking up. Anytime I go to the hospital, they call, is everything okay? So that was it. And every Monday, I go through that. So one Monday, just like I was saying, I had to go for a checkup again, and he's like, I need to admit you again because your pressure is too high. Then I'm there waiting for a bed and the water gushes out. So they need to, all those things, the needles, checking. Finding the vein cry was another wahala because I had bloated so much. I became so fat. Me, all I was eating was banku. The first trimester, what I was craving for was palm soup with tuna, ehun with fufu or anything. And I became so big. Eventually, I even had gestational diabetes. Yeah, I did. So I had to go and see. He made me see a dietitian at Kolebu, and that one too. They had to give me a food plan, and every time, like, I had to take cocoa without sugar. Like, my sugar was, I wasn't supposed to take sugar, salt, canned foods, nothing. So I was virtually eating so healthy, and I did lose some weight. It worked though. He was proud of me. He said I did well, and there were times my husband brought me food in the morning before he goes to work, like change of clothes and then my food and everything, and he'd be with me when I'm eating. This time I was eating the cocoa and I started crying. I was like, why are you crying? He said, the food is not nice. Like, I was suffering eating the food. It was hard. Imagine you've been eating good food and then suddenly you're eating something without sugar. Even the bread, I don't even know where he found that bread. It was so freaking healthy, sorry. It was supposed to be brown bread, but that bread was not brown bread. It had all the wheat in the world in its seeds. But I really appreciated him. He did so well. My husband can cook, so it saved me. He used to bring me and then my mom comes in the afternoon, then my auntie comes in the evening. They all running shifts. But my husband will come back again in the evening after work to check on me before he goes up. Water gushes out, and then they rushed me to the room. One of the nurses had to give me the whatever for the drip and all that. So she couldn't find my vein. Eventually, by the time she found my vein, like, there was so much blood on the floor, like I don't know what she did, but I never saw that woman at the hospital again because the doctor came and found her. She was so pissed. I never saw her again after that day. And they took me to the recovery room. You go to the recovery room before you go to the theater. So in the recovery room, one of the nurses, the elderly ones, comes in and she's talking to me. Then my husband came in eventually. So she was trying to keep me calm. Then when my husband came, she was like, okay, let me leave you too so you can, then he's doing the talking, like, I'm like, oh, would you go inside with me? He's like, oh, no. The nurses say he should go and get a feeding bottle. I knew he just didn't want to go there. So they go, so he said, okay, when he comes back early, he will come in. So they take me in and they give you that injection on the spine. And I was shaking. They go, no, don't move. So eventually they did it. It wasn't painful, Mom. I don't even know how they did it, but I didn't feel anything. Then they make you lie down. But my baby was so heavy. She was 4.1 kg. Yeah, she was so heavy. I think the banku I ate was not good then. She was 4.1 kg. So she, when the CS, you go this way, I could feel like my breathing was not coming well. So the anesthesia, like, they rub you so that you don't sleep. So I was telling him, I can't breathe. He should let me sit up. I'm begging him. He should just let me sit up and breathe for her. But apparently they had already cut me then. I didn't even realize it. I was like, no, you can't sit up now. So just relax, you'll be fine. And he gives me the oxygen mask. But it was like that one was even killing me the more. I couldn't breathe at all. So I told him, no, take it over. I was starting to panic. I was panicking. I was like, no, relax. What you're doing is not good. They won't help you. Just relax. You'll be fine. Then somehow in my mind went off. He was like, everything will be fine. Just relax. Now I'm sitting there. We are chatting. He's chatting with me. So I go like, won't they take the baby out? Like, they've taken the baby out already. I didn't even see at what point. You see them standing and moving, but I didn't even see the time. And I didn't even hear her cry. She didn't cry. So he called the nurses, oh, let her see the baby. So they bring her. And before childbirth, I was thinking the first time I see my baby, I'll cry. I didn't cry. Like, I was just, oh, okay, she's alive. Like, that was all. There was no emotion. I didn't cry. And after, then the sewing, everything goes on. And that was when I started going off. Like, eventually I just went off. Then I don't know what happened after. Then they wheeled me to the room, the ward. Then wheeling me to the ward, I see my mother, my auntie, like there was a long line. My mother, my auntie, my cousins, and a friend of mine, David. I don't even know how David got there. David, he took me to all my dietitian appointments because my husband was not available. He did all that for me. And they were all lined up there, and my kid sister, my husband. So they come to the ward, and they're looking at me, and then I went off again. I don't know the point at which. Then I wake up in the night. Like, at that hospital, when you deliver, they give you a nurse to stay with you for the night. Like, she's at your beck and call. Then I wake up and I see her sitting there, but I didn't see my baby. So I asked her, where's my child? Where's my child? She's like, she's fine, relax. But I honestly thought something had happened. So I wasn't myself. But I kept going on and off. And in the night, it was like someone, in my sleeping, it was like someone had poured warm water over my legs. So in the morning when they came to like clean me up, they realized that like clot of blood, like big clot of blood, like all over my legs. And the nurse was scared. She was like, why this? So I started panicking too. And I told her I needed to pee. I was panicking. I don't know why. I kept panicking at every point in time. Then she said, no, you're wearing a catheter. You don't need to pee. You can pee. Just said, no, I need to sit on the toilet. And they take me to the toilet. Eventually, like, everyone is holding me. I go to the toilet and then I sit. And there was this big gash, like, and when they make me stand and like look at what it is, I look at it and it wasn't pee. It was like clots of blood, I don't know where all that will come. But eventually then, and you don't sleep with the baby the first night because of CS. The nurses sleep with the baby. So they brought her to me and I saw her and I had to feed her. When they brought her to me in the morning to feed her, I still had no emotions. There was nothing. And I realized even feeding, I didn't have breast milk for her. But the nurses were encouraging me, like, still try and feed her. It will come. The more she sucks, the more it will, like, you get it. But I really had no emotions. And feeding her was like I didn't want to feed her. It was hard for me. I just didn't feel like it. It took me a while. And when I was discharged, on my way home, my husband came to pick me. I was so nervous, like, I don't know what it was, but I wasn't okay. I was so emotional. Now, when he took me, I had to go to my mom's place. So when we got there, my mom, like, they're all happy to see me. But I was really emotional. Like, there was no emotion whatsoever with me. So she comes to me like, what is it? Are you okay? Why? You don't want to stay with me? Do you want to go back to your house? And I just started crying again. And I don't even know why I was crying. I'm like, no, it's not that. And I'm just crying, like, I'm crying. So I spoke with a friend of mine after a couple of months, and that was Fafa. And she goes like, do you realize you are having what's the word? Disorder, postpartum disorder, right? And that was when it hit me that that's what was happening, because even to feed her, like, there was no joy in feeding. See, when you have your first child and, oh, my baby, it was more like when people come around, oh yeah, I have a baby, but when everybody's just you and the baby, you're like, am I ready? Like, was I forced to have this baby? It was basically that. Like, I think even during her, was it outdooring? I just left everybody there. I went to the room and I was just there on the bed, lying there. And one of my aunties came in. She's like, oh, she's been looking around for me. Why? What is it? I'm like, oh, I'm just tired. I just want to be by myself. Like, I really didn't feel anything. There was no emotion. And the nervousness it came with, I was like, what if I don't treat her right? Is she okay? Is she okay? Like, all that. And there was this time, my mom had to travel, so I had to come and spend time with my husband. So when she comes, I go back to her. And he stepped out of it, so I was bathing, and I was feeling so uncomfortable, so I wanted to bath. And she was not sitting yet. So I put her in the tub. And I'm looking at her and bathing, like in water, just some little water. I'm looking at her and bathing, and I'm thinking, oh, she's fine. So within like seconds, I'm washing my face. I turned, and her face was in the water. Her face was in the water, and I quickly pulled her out. And she was crying. She was crying, and then I realized her crying was, it was dropping. Her voice was, we had a neighbor. It's like a twin house, was it? Semi-detached, and she was like, what's wrong with the baby? Is the baby okay? I'm like, yeah, she's fine. I didn't, like, just shut up already, like, because I was trying to see if she's fine. So I carry her, and like, Dede. So I take her to the room, like, with soap on my body. We go to the room, like, Dede, look at the sun. I opened the window, like, Dede, look at the sun, look at the sun. And she's crying, and I realized she was becoming pale. And her crying was just going down, going down. I don't know where the wisdom came from. I just gave her CPR, like I was breathing into her, and she screamed out loud. And that was when I realized, it hit me like I was losing her. I nearly lost her. I couldn't tell anybody about it. I think I told my husband later. My mom, I told her later. She was like, hey, Adoley, me no fine. But I think that was like an awakening for me, that I nearly lost her. And somehow my brain, I didn't go through any counseling or anything, but that fear of losing her just sparked something, and then I felt that connection again. That was it.
Okay.
Yes, I did get help. My mom was very helpful. My husband was helpful. Even though I was with my mom, he would come every time. And my sister, my mom, everything, my mom would let my sister do it. And even dressing my wound, she would make her do it. I know at a point she was like tired, but she still had to do it. So my mom would insult her. So I got help. And there was another experience too. One of my cousins was getting married in Kumasi. So they all had to go. So I had to go home. I had to go back home to my husband again. But I didn't want to be home alone. So I went to, my uncle was still at home. So I went there with some of my cousins who couldn't go, to be there. And then in the evening I go home and my husband comes home. And on our way home, I got tired around evening, like 7. I booked an Uber and it came. And when we went to sit in the car, like my baby's head goes like, right. And then I tell the Uber, like we had just moved one gate away from our house. I'm like, stop the car. My baby is not breathing. That was before the bathing incident. So I think it scarred me. I'm like, stop the car. So the Uber driver just stopped, like, where? So I opened the door with my bag, my purse, everything. I just ran out of the taxi to the house and I'm screaming my uncle's name. Daddy, Dede is not breathing. So they all came out and then my cousin was like, why are your bags and stuff? Like, it's in the car. So they ran out to pick my stuff from the car. And then my uncle comes out, like, oh, what do you mean she's not breathing? And he says, put her on the dining table. So then he goes and he's looking at her and like, she's asleep. Can't you see she's breathing? But I couldn't tell them the reason why I was panicking, because I'd had a near experience with her. But recently I was telling one of my cousins, she did psychology. She was like, she now understands why I'm always panicky around there. I took her to the pool some time ago. She likes to swim. I took her to the pool. Ooh, I didn't even think she would like to swim with all the water experience. And she was trying to go to the older people's side. And everybody was like, leave her, she's swimming well. Her school takes them for swimming. So she's fine, leave her, she's fine. But I still can't get over that experience, man. I did do 6 months breastfeeding. I really wanted to. My child is a girl, but Dede likes breast. Even now, before she sleeps, she wants to put her hands in my dress, like hold my boob before, mommy, come and sleep by me. She likes to do that. She always wants to be like by my boob. So my husband is like, this girl, she should have been a boy. It took a while for her to stop the breastfeeding. eventually I had to take her to my mom's place, and for a week. I took her to my mom's place for a week, and after they bring her to me, she's like, if you give her breast milk again and she gets addicted, don't bring her to me. So it was hard, but I had to do it. You know, your boobs become so filled with milk, but you still can't feed it. And she's screaming in the night, crying. And my husband was like, should we just give her? I'm like, Mama says I shouldn't bring her back home. So, but eventually she did stop. But then she still likes to play with boobs. Everybody, even when I take her to my auntie's place, the least thing, I will touch your fofo. Like, she likes boobs. I think she should have just been a boy. She's always touching boobs. She didn't like the formula stuff. She liked banku and okro. But honestly, me doing banku, even when we got married, it's something that I wasn't doing. I hated it. Okro. So at a point, my mom or my auntie will make it and they bring it and I feed it. Or when I take her to my big sister's place and then they give her banku. But she liked banku. She likes fufui. She likes kenke. She liked solid food, so it wasn't difficult to her eating. She's not choosy with her food. Going back to work, it was hard. We were trying to figure it out. Like, my mother lived so far from us, and going and coming. We live in a 2-bedroom house, and I spoke with my husband, oh, should my mom come and stay? I was like, no, we need to do this on our own. What if we're living in a 1-bedroom house? Like, how will she still come? So I'm like, okay. So I told my mom was really looking for it, and I told her, okay, unfortunately, this is it. So she was like, oh, no problem. She was disappointed, but my husband's mom's house is like a street away from us. So his auntie was around. His mom is a lecturer, so she really, which we all understood, she's a lecturer at Winneba, so she wasn't really available. And his aunties came. One of his aunties, she's in Nigeria. She came for holidays, so eventually she had to go back. So my mom had to be coming and going, and it was really hard, like being at work. And as soon as we used to, for the first 3 months, I think we closed at 3. I'm rushing, taking a car to come home because my mom lives far. So as soon as I get home, I'm bathing, and so they can leave early because she won't get home. So it was hard though, but we found a way around it. During PSN, she didn't cry. It happened so quick. I think it happened on the 2nd or 3rd day. One of the nurses in the hospital does it. So it was so quick. Even I was rather scared for her, but she didn't cry. She took it well. Immunization. A friend of mine gave me a tip that before she goes, give her paracetamol syrup so she doesn't get that fever after they take it. So, but it was hard. The first time she had to be injected, I couldn't hold her. I told my mom to do it because I was nervous. I was scared I won't hold her well and she will shake. So I made my mother hold her. Then one of the nurses comes in and is like, no, you have to learn how to do it. Your mother will not be here every time. So one day when I came, they made me hold her. My mother stepped aside, and that too was the most painful experience ever. She screamed so loud. I felt like a bad mother after. I had to put her hand and hold her so tight. But I'm glad I got that experience, because ever since, like now when she's sick and we go to the hospital and she has to do a blood test, my husband can't stand there. He can't, he's not well with blood. He doesn't do well with blood. So I have to do it. I have to hold her so tight. So I'm glad I got that experience though. Yeah, it was a good lesson. Being a mother is fun. I won't say fun. It's hard. Being a mother, a working mother, it's hard. Especially when she's sick. The night, like earlier this year, we are sleeping, and then in the night, I see she woke up and she called me, she tapped me. She likes to sleep with us. She tapped me. She knows she has a room, but she won't sleep in the room. She will be with us. And she told me her head was paining her. So I'm like, I prayed for her. I'm like, you'll be fine. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Let's sleep. But I realized anytime, I was so tired, but anytime I kind of wake up, she was still up. And she was just lying there. I was so exhausted. Then I rub her, and I'm thinking she's sleeping. But in the morning, I realized she had not slept throughout the night. So we had to take her to the hospital. And then they are checking her blood for malaria and all that. And it was another experience. All that. It's hard seeing her going through that. I mean, at least at that age, she's old. She can talk. She's 3 years now. She can talk. But when they are younger, there was this time when she was very young, my mom called me from work. She has a temperature. She's there, but my baby is strong actually. For somebody that had malaria, a child that had malaria, she will play a bit, but you see she has a temperature. Like her temperature is so high, but she's still playing, she's still eating, but she's weak. You can see she's weak. I don't know how to explain it. She's a fighter. My baby nowadays is a fighter. That one I'll tell you. She's a fighter. Oh, the joys of motherhood is a lot. Is nice. It's nice. Like when she does something and you're so proud of it, and you tell her, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." You see, like she's happy when you tell her that. I'm trying to get in shape, right? So I'm part of this weight loss group, and we have workouts. You're supposed to go for walks and all that. So I tried to sneak out, and she's like, "Mommy, don't go." One time I told her, "Okay, I won't go, I'm staying." Then I sneak out, and then when I came back, she's like, "Mommy, you left me." I said, "Daddy, don't you want Mommy to look beautiful?" And she opens her mouth and tells me, "Mommy, don't you want to stay with your daughter?" I felt so bad. Ever since, I don't go for work. I just skip. I just skip at home. And as soon as she said it, my husband goes like, She can give you like one jab and you're like, I felt bad when she said it, so I've not been able to go for walks. I just skip in the house. And when she does something and she's happy, or she's watching cartoons and her favorite cartoon comes up and she's jumping, or when she's dressing up, "Mommy, I want this." She cannot tell you what she wants to wear. Like you choose it, no, Mommy, I don't like this one. Then she'll go and take. It's nice to see all that. And sometimes we'll be sitting there, my husband goes like, "Is this the baby they wanted to abort?" Like, and you just thank God, like, for the whole experience. I mean, it's a lesson. Truthfully, that whole thing has scarred me in a way. You know, you're walking and be like, "Oh, when is baby 2 coming?" I'm like, "You people, you don't know. Baby 1, what I went through." You don't know. But we'll see what the Lord will do, man. But it's nice to be a mother. It's nice. I love all the stress and the pain, the fun it comes with, all the happy times. Like, the best part is when you cook for her and she's happy and she's eating. Like, you know, Mommy is there. Like, just that thought that you are somebody's mother is nice. It's a nice experience, and I'm grateful to God for that. My advice to mothers or mothers, soon to be mothers, when you're trying to pick a hospital for childbirth, don't look at the building, or don't look at proximity. It doesn't help. That's what I did, and it didn't help me. If you know a good doctor that is far away from you, it's better. Just go there. Up to now, that hospital that said my life was in danger, I never went back. Nobody ever called me to find out why you are not back. If indeed my life was in danger and you care at the hospital, you should have called me back. Find out why I'm not coming. It's been 3 years, hitting 4 years. Nobody called me. I didn't come back the following day. They never called. So that's my advice. Go to a good hospital. Don't take chances. My case, it wasn't about like trying to get a cheap hospital. This hospital was nice. Like, it's a popular hospital in Dansuman, and it's nice. It's not a cheap place. But see, this is the experience I got. So just get somewhere that you know the doctors are good and are going to get good service. Find out, do more research about the hospitals before you get in. That's my advice.